Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stapakaya Chadamasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stapakaya Chadamasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namaha Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. In the last 3 classes, we have been discussing the topic, the way to real peace and bliss. Why people get into peacelessness? Nobody wants to be peaceless. Everybody wants to be in peace. Everybody wants to be happy. But still, they are not. Why it is so? It is because the non-spiritual mind is hyperactive. That's the reason. So a person has to develop his spiritual mind more and more vigorously, intensely, consciously, with full awareness. He must take all care and attention to develop spiritual mind. The more and more the spiritual mind is developed, the more and more one gets peace and happiness to that extent. Well, there are so many factors leading a person to the state of peacelessness. As I said earlier, it is because the non-spiritual mind is very active and the person is totally identified with that non-spiritual mind to such an extent that non-spiritual mind is the real mind and the spiritual mind is not real. Topsy-turvy. So, such a person relies upon his own resources, his own ego, his own faculties, he depends on himself. He doesn't want God to be there. In fact, in a way, the most modern man can be compared to Hiranyakashipu. In Bhagavad, there's a story of Hiranyakashipu. He was very egotistic, mad after power, don't care attitude. He doesn't want to accept the supremacy of God. What God? I am the God myself. That means there is none other than superior to me. In that sense he is using. If he says he himself is God, it doesn't mean he has got all the sattvic qualities of God. He didn't use the term God in that sense. He wants to convey that he is the most powerful person and nobody can challenge him. And he would be very aggressive like a cobra, serpent. There's a particular variety called king cobra. King cobra is very aggressive. Suppose you are walking in the woods. If there is any king cobra around, it jumps, just attacks you, unprovoked. That is the nature of king cobra. It attacks you. You must be very careful. If the cobras are there, you should never go around the place where they are living. So, Hiranyakashipu was like that. Very aggressive, and he would not accept the supremacy of God. That means he is the typical example of non-spiritual mind. So, the result is that he was always in some kind of restlessness, some kind of peacelessness. His mind was always in a disturbed condition, very disturbed condition. Anyway, I am just giving the example. The modern man behaves exactly in the same way as Hiranyakashipu of the Puranic times. So, as long as one is influenced by his ego, he comes under the direct operation of the doctrine of karma. He cannot escape. Law comes into operation. Law comes into operation. Any person doing any good, let him have the benefit of good what he has done. If he has done bad, let him have the effect of bad what he had done. So, he is coming under the wheel of karma, the doctrine of karma, good, good, bad, bad. As you sow, so you reap. You come under that law. As long as you are under this doctrine of karma, you are bound to be peaceless. You are always pushed and pulled by your actions. Constantly you are being pushed, constantly you are being pulled. So, you'll be in a disturbed position more and more as you grow, as you become more and more non-spiritual, you become more and more peaceless. How long? No limit. No limit. So, one can get into a state of peacefulness only when he becomes aware of the fact that the divine God, Supreme, the ruler of the universe, He is there governing the whole creation. So the way to get into peaceful state is to surrender to Him. Surrendering. The question of surrendering, when you surrender wholeheartedly, not in a hypocritical way, it must be wholehearted surrendering. When then you get into real state of peace. You will, the moment you try to surrender yourself, from that very moment, you will have the glimpse of peace in your mind, a glimpse of happiness in your mind, a glimpse of joy. So we find even in the worldly sense also, so many times people are in jail for committing so many offenses. Some of the prisoners, they send an appeal that they want to surrender themselves. So when they surrender, they are pardoned of their crimes and they are let off. If they are really surrendering, then they won't commit the mistake of doing again crimes. The same thing is true in the case of fighting also. When two groups are fighting, at one stage, one of the parties expressed the desire that he would surrender. Once they surrender, in fact they raise the white cloth, it is an indication of peace. They want peace. So when the act of surrendering comes, they should raise both their hands. Then they are saved. They are not killed. It happened in case of war in India. There was a war between India and Pakistan in Bangladesh. See, Bangladesh was part of Pakistan previously. And the war went on for some time. Afterwards they found they are not able to fight. Then they surrendered. Once they surrendered, all the soldiers were saved. Otherwise, all of them would have been killed. Same analogy. If you surrender yourself to God, you are saved. You are not destroyed. All your stresses and strains, they are just taken out. Totally. Not bit by bit. So what's the meaning of surrender? It means you must be free from egotistic attitude. There's a story in the gospel, a very nice story. There was a a good gardener, a rich man. He had raised many plants. He loved flowers. He loved many things. And every plant he would every day go and supervise and put water, this, that. He was giving so much attention. They were all blooming very, very well. Extremely good. In fact, I have seen botanical gardens in Chicago near Skokie. If you want to go to heaven, go to botanical gardens. Real heaven, I should say. 2 times I have gone there, 2 times. Remarkably great. Every plant, how nice, how healthy. By looking at you will have tremendous inner peace. It reflects the glory of God. Once a visitor came to the garden, and the visitor was very happy to see. Well, it's so beautiful. And he was praising it. Praising it very much. Even if you see our backyard, hibiscus, 12 inches wide, width, 12 inches, beautiful hibiscus. It's a joy to see. So, when this visitor was praising, immediately the owner came towards him because he was praising the garden. And, oh, it seems you are liking my garden. Come, I will show you. I will show you. The whole garden I will show it to you. You will be more and more joyful. Like they began to take him and show every bit of plant. Oh, this was done by me, this was done by me, this was, I did like this, I did like this, I did this, I. About 100 times, I. Suddenly he came to a spot where there was a dead cow. Cow was dead. Immediately the visitor asked him, what is this in such a beautiful garden? Why this cow is dying here? Inadvertently, the owner of the garden had brought the visitor while wandering in the garden into this spot. His intention was not that. In fact, he wanted to avoid it. What had happened was, a few days before, this particular cow had entered into the garden. You see, cows, what do they know? Your methodology. They come to eat grass. Wherever it is, they go and eat. You must be more sympathetic. The best way is just to drive him out. That's all. That's the best way to do. But he becomes, that cow, he did not know which is precious, which is not precious. Cow, it wants to eat whatever that is in the garden. On the way, it was trampling some of the plants which were very favorite to the owner. And he became very angry. In that angry mood, what he did was he gave a big hit on the head of the cow. The hit was so harsh. It dropped and dead. It was fatal. Poor cow died. Immediately he got remorse. What I have done. I killed the cow. Then suddenly, in some part of a philosophy developed. Well, really I am not responsible for this, because the presiding deity of the hand is some god. Every Indriya has got a presiding deity. Chakshus, Manas, ear, everything. particular deity is there. So he is referring to the deity. So the presiding deity is responsible for that. I am not responsible. Like that, some consolation he had, and he was trying to be peaceful. And so when this visitor was asking him, he began to stumble, and so then the visitor said, well, you are all the time you are telling everything was done by you, etc., etc. And nowhere, while you are talking about and showing all the plan, nowhere you mentioned about God. But how is it? Here, in the killing of the cow, it is the doing of God. Now you are bringing God into it. Then that visitor said, well, that visitor was not an ordinary visitor. It is the God himself who assumed the visitor's form and came to teach him a lesson. And he told, well, you are a hypocrite. So you'll have to pay for your misdeed. You can't escape. That means you come under the rigorous law of karma. You have killed a cow, have the resultant effect of that. So, such hypocritical self-surrender cannot bring God's grace. If you have to get into real state of peace, you must have God's grace. God's grace. When God's grace comes, the doctrine of karma is forbidden to enter there. You are directly under the grace. The law of karma, the doctrine of karma cannot come near a person on whom God's grace is flowing upon. That's a very important thing that all the spiritual aspirants should remember. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tva sarvapapebhyo mokshishyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all dharmas. Completely surrender all the legalities and come to me for shelter. I will deliver you from all sins. Do not grieve. So, but you have to submit yourself. That's very important. Without your submission, you can't really surrender. That's what Lord Krishna says. Whatever you might have done, it's all immaterial. Surrender means simply totally surrender. Raise your hands. Finished. Everything I will take care of thereafterwards. Finished. That's the meaning. So Sri Krishna has expressed how grace dawns upon the devotee's heart. I am the origin of all. From me all things proceed. The wise know this and worship me with all their heart. When this consciousness dawns upon a person, he naturally foregoes his ego and accepts God as the supreme ruler of everything. In fact, Sri Krishna tells you the way. Macchitta madgata prana bodayantaha parasparam kadayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Tesham sarata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Tesham eva anukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam atma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. Very beautiful verses with tremendous spiritual content. He says, with their hearts fixed on God, with their life absorbed in Him, enlightening one another about God, and always conversing about God, they derive satisfaction and delight. And those who are ever devoted to God and worship God with love, Lord Krishna says, I bestow the yoga of understanding by which they come to me. Solely out of compassion for them, dwelling in their hearts, I dispel with the shining lamp of wisdom the darkness born of ignorance. This is how the divine grace descends into our heart. In fact, when I was in Belur Math as a probationer, brahmachari, 2 years we had a training course there. 2 years we had opportunity to be with the monks. Hundreds of monks. And the tradition was every day all the monastics, brahmacharis and monks would go and bow down to the president of the Ramakrishna order, morning and evening. And morning, the time was fixed before breakfast. Their breakfast is 6:30. Sometimes they would fix after the breakfast, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. They fixed the time. At that time, all the monastics would go, would be running, actually, literally. It is all exciting for me. Why they are all running? Because they don't want to miss. The president of the order is considered as Sri Ramakrishna himself. And he will be sitting there for a particular fixed time. Afterwards he will go away. If you don't go at that time, you miss it. And nobody wants to miss that. So they would go. And in the evening time, the devotees also will be there. After the arati, there will be big queue standing to meet the president of the order. But then monastics have to meet. So what they do, they have got a side entry. First the monastics will go and complete their bowing, salutation, bowing down, and then the devotees will be allowed. Like that. On one such occasion, I had gone there, Vishuddhanandaji, who became the president of the Ramakrishna order, after the passing away of Swami Shankaranandaji. Vishuddhanji was the disciple of Holy Mother. I got Brahmachari Diksha from him. When I went to see, to offer my pranams there were about 200 devotees sitting in front of Maharaj. But they know the monastics will come, they will make pranams. So they were all sitting quietly. Of course, before we could go, Swamiji was talking with them. Swamiji was sitting and talking. What he was talking? He was talking about Holy Mother. Whole day. Morning, night, afternoon. Anytime you go, he will be talking about only Mother. Different aspects of Mother. I was stunned. How much information he has got. How much information he has got. That means his whole mind is occupied with mother's thought. And he had the opportunity of going to mother frequently and getting initiation. And so, with great feeling, Swamiji would say, and with all details. So, here is the example. He was talking only about Holy Mother. Holy Mother is none other than Sri Ramakrishna himself. That's what Lord Krishna says. They just speak of me. They just praise me like that. You find here. And there was no hypocrisy. Swamiji was like a child. He had come to Bangalore also. When I was a brahmachari, Vishuddhananda had come to Bangalore. When he came to Bangalore, he was vice president. Then afterwards he became president. Then I got the brahmachari diksha from him. So, that is the indication of God's grace descending into the heart of the aspirant. The channel is opened. Once the divine grace flows into it, once you are bathed in it, you have nothing to worry. Your life is saved. Everything about you is taken care of. So the way is through self-surrender. Self-surrender. There are so many yogas, but this is also one of the best yogas, I should say. Sharanagati yoga. Surrender means you should not worry. If you worry, you are not surrendering properly. Correct it. If you surrender, don't worry. Take everything as blessing. But keep on praying and praying and praying. Talking about God. Thinking about Him. Doing connected service to Him. Anything that you do in the name of God, it comes under the specific term. It's called Kainkarya. Kainkarya. It's a very beautiful word, Sanskrit word. Anything you are connecting with God and doing, it becomes Kainkarya. That means it's God's work. You're vacuuming it, you're preparing some dish, doing any work, but you connect it with God, it becomes Kainkarya. When it becomes Kainkarya, you become free from ego. You expand yourself. That gives you a glimpse of joy inside. You feel inside a kind of satisfaction, a kind of fulfillment. So, God has given us freedom. Freedom. Freedom to do good deeds. Freedom to do evil deeds. And also freedom to surrender your ego to Him. When a person really surrenders his ego to the Supreme Lord, then divine grace descends upon him. Until then, a person is under the scope of law. There's a famous statement by Saint Paul. See, all the saints are really great, wherever they are. It's remarkable. Once Saint Paul said in his epistle to the Romans, he is telling very nice statement. Sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under law, but under grace. Same thing which I talked to just now. We perform wrong deeds. Why? With some selfish motives. When we hold to this ego, we become selfish. And selfishness makes us do wrong deeds. If we are unselfish, we will not injure others. So, when a person surrenders his ego to the Lord, what will happen? All his actions naturally become pure. When God's power flows through our impure ego, it becomes colored or discolored and functions in different ways. But when we surrender this ego to God or attune this individual self to the Supreme Self, then what happens? Divine power, divine knowledge flowing through this individual self is not discolored anymore. So naturally a person can see very clearly and can act rightly. That's why St. Paul said, sin shall not have dominion over you. You are not under law, but under grace. You have taken refuge in Him. You are not holding to your ego. You are surrendering all to Him. A person may gain material possessions, but these are not considered the true manifestation of God's grace in one's life. God's grace in the true sense comes how? How to recognize it? In the form of spiritual treasures, which do not rust or rot, and which nobody can take away from you. They are perfectly safe, the spiritual treasures. Through His grace, we can have material benefits, but the real indication of God's grace is spiritual illumination, inner purity, inner strength, inner joy, inner light. This does not come until we really surrender ourselves to God. As long as a person holds to his ego, justice takes care of him. But when he surrenders himself to the Supreme Lord, then grace descends upon him and his mind becomes more and more purified. Then he becomes the very channel for the expression of divine power, divine knowledge, divine freedom, divine strength. That's why you find if there is a saint, even though he is an illiterate, when he speaks words of wisdom. He may speak even a few words, you will be tremendously influenced. Just a look, you are influenced. Even talking may not be necessary. So, we should not think that because God is all just, He cannot be all merciful. We should not think that because God is all just, He cannot be all merciful. He is both all just and all merciful at the same time. If you are dominated by your ego, you come under law, justice. But if you submit your ego at the feet of God, then you will know the grace of God. Thereby you enjoy real peace and bliss. This concludes my topic. On this topic I have spoken previously 3 classes. This is the 4th class on the same subject. Thank you very much. Now I shall read some passage from the Gospel, page 660. Is there anything that is impossible for faith? And a true devotee has faith in everything. The formless reality, God with form, Rama, Krishna and the Divine Mother. Once while going to Kamarpukkot, I was overtaken by a storm. I was in the middle of a big meadow. The place was haunted by robbers. I began to repeat the names of all the deities, Rama, Krishna and Bhagavati. I also repeated the name of Hanuman. I chanted the names of them all. What does that mean? Let me tell you. While the servant is counting out the money to purchase supplies, he says, these pennies are for potatoes, these for eggplants, these for fish. He counts the money separately, but after the list is completed, he puts the coins together. When one develops love of God, one likes to talk only of God. If you love a person, you love to talk and hear about him. A worldly person's mouth waters while he talks about his son. If someone praises his son, he will at once say to the boy, go and get some water for your uncle to wash his feet. Those who love pigeons are highly pleased if you praise pigeons before them. But if you speak ill of pigeons, they will at once exclaim, has anyone in your line for 14 generations ever raised pigeons? Sri Ramakrishna now addressed Mahimacharan, who was a householder. Master said, what need is there of renouncing the world altogether? It is enough if you can rid yourself of attachment. But you must have sadhana. You have to fight the sense organs. It is a great advantage to fight from inside a fort. You get much help from the fort. The world is the place for enjoyment. After enjoying different things, you should give them up one by one. Once I had a desire to put a gold chain around my waist. I have obtained one at last and put it on, but I had to take it off immediately. Once I ate some onion. While eating, I discriminated, oh mind, this is onion. Then I moved it to different places in my mouth and at last spat it out. A musician was expected. He was to sing with his party. Sri Ramakrishna asked the devotees every now and then, where is the musician? Mahima replied, we are quite all right as we are. Master said, no sir, you get this all through ear. A devotee outside the room said, the musician has come. Sri Ramakrishna was filled with joy and said, oh, has he? Mats were spread on the floor of the long veranda northeast of the master's room. Sri Ramakrishna said, sprinkle a little Ganges water on the mats. Many worldly people have sat on them. The ladies of Pyari Babu's family from Bali had come to visit the temples. They wanted to listen to the kirtan. A devotee said to Sri Ramakrishna, these ladies have been inquiring whether there would be any place in the room for them. Can they have seats? The kirtan had already begun. The master said, no, where is any room here? Narayana arrived and saluted Sri Ramakrishna. The latter said tenderly, why have you come? Your people at home have beaten you so much. He signed to Baburam to give Narayan something to eat. Narayan entered the master's room. Suddenly Sri Ramakrishna followed him. He wanted to feed Narayan with his own hands. Afterwards he returned to the veranda. We shall stop here. Don't be shaken and develop your spiritual mind. It's only through spiritual mind you can really become strong. And we shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the ties of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when the instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may all the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be free from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.